What is good, Tesla family? It's Ray J back with another video, and in this one I'm going to be talking about the one and only Tesla stock, what you should be looking out for the future. I'm also going to do some in-depth technical analysis and give you guys my price prediction for tomorrow based off what the charts are suggesting and based off what the data is showing. I'm going to talk about what Jerome Powell said on testimony that's pretty big for the markets, some big piece of news that's coming out for Tesla as they have some new virtual power plants opening, and also what the data is suggesting when it comes to Max Payne and the options chain. I'm also going to end the video with a tweet from the man, the myth, the legend himself, Elon Musk, which goes to show how secure these Teslas really are. Now, before I break anything down from Elon Musk, before I talk about what's going on with Tesla's share price, I do have to mention a couple of things real quick. Firstly, I'm not a financial planner. Don't take any of this as financial advice. And also, if you guys can, please smash the like button if you want to see more videos like this. It not only benefits me, but the entire Tesla community as a whole. And the last things, if you guys can, please check out the Webull link down below and in the description. If you sign up for Webull, the link down below, and deposit any amount of money into the account, you're guaranteed 6 free stocks, each worth up to $2,000, which you could always sell for cash, and you could always use those 6 free stocks to buy some Tesla shares for free in this limited time offer that ends in just 6 days. So please check it out before they run out. With that out of the way, let's get on with the video. So looking at Tesla, we're in a very, very interesting position right now. Now, one of the things we're noticing is we were respecting a bit of a downward trend, kind of like this, and I can actually draw out 2 trend lines just to kind of show you just real quick. But what's interesting about that is the fact that even if we were respecting a bit of a downward trend, we actually held up pretty well at that 685 level. That 685 support, it held us up pretty strongly. So to me, that's actually a pretty good sign. And from what I'm seeing right now, from a technical perspective, it's looking like Tesla's actually trying to push up just a little bit, despite the fact that we did see us closing in the red. Now, I predicted a red close would essentially come, especially after remarks from Elon Musk, but I don't see this kind of continuing tomorrow. I do think that tomorrow is going to be another choppy day, and I do think the markets may be kind of red, but I actually think near the end of the day, Tesla might actually get a slight push into maybe the green, and I'm going to show you why I think that. Now, when it comes to Jerome Powell, the chairman of the Fed, he was on testimony again with the committee of the House, and you can see right over here, he mentioned most of what he mentioned actually was not even like new or surprising, and the market didn't necessarily react too badly to a lot of the things he said. We did see a lot of red initially, but it wasn't that bad. But then he did make this claim, which I think was one of the most significant things that he mentioned. And that is the fact that he's prepared for an unconditional bid to fight inflation, and it could actually lead to some job losses. And I think Warren Buffett responded to this, and he actually stated that he warned Powell not to necessarily destroy the markets, but he was kind of being comical when doing that. But anyways, when it comes to this, Jerome Powell is almost hinting towards us that a recession is definitely not just possible, it may already be starting right now, as we're seeing a lot of big companies out there already starting to lay off a lot of their employees. So with that said, when it comes to the overall markets, the market won't necessarily like that. But as I've stated before, we need to wait for a lot of data, particularly in July, to come out to really confirm a lot of these speculations. Now, when it comes to Tesla, one of the things you're noticing is it does look like it's respecting a bit of a downward trend, but I still believe it is possible for us to be a little green tomorrow. Now, I want to talk about the SPY first and talk about why on earth this could actually be an indication that Tesla may see some choppy action tomorrow, followed by a nice push towards the end of the day. Now, one of the things to remember about the SPY is we have this big gap down here, but so far we haven't shown signs of us filling the gap like tomorrow or like in the super short term. And we did have that strong support at that 370, got a nice bounce off that a couple of days ago, and we've been holding up pretty well. Now, one thing that concerns me a bit is the SPY's volume is not strong. It's relatively low volume. There was a big volume push towards the end of the day, but besides that, I mean, the volume just isn't that great, and that's not necessarily the best of signs. Now, what I want to talk about is that key level in the SPY, okay? If the SPY breaks $380, this thing is probably going to fly to the moon. Not necessarily the moon, but it's going to start flying, and it's probably going to fill the gap up to that 390 range. So that really big range we need to look out for is the SPY breaking past 380 and then holding it very, very strongly. If we could do that, that would be a very, very good sign. You could see right here, The SPY went above it temporarily, then it dropped back down. It tried to push up again and just got gapped down again. So it's having a hard time breaking 380. If we could break it and hold above that, like I said, it's going to look good. Many other analysts are actually saying that. I know I'm not really subscribed to Market Watch, but big analysts are saying if the S&P 500 is back above that 3,800 mark, and the SPY tracks the S&P 500, of course, that's 380 for the SPY, that's when the market would look a lot better. We're not necessarily there just yet. Now, when it comes to Tesla, what on earth is going on? Well, the SPY pushed up to almost 1%. It got a bit of a push and some volume increased towards the very end of the day, but overall, pretty low volume. So I wouldn't be surprised if the SPY actually drops a little bit. Looking at the options chain for the SPY, 376 is max Payne. Now, is this just spontaneous? But it could be, but at the same time, it's like this could be the number. It probably is the number that the market makers, the hedge funds, the shorts, all of these big players out there, big institutions are aiming for. So I think it's very probable we might get a bit of a drop in SPY going into tomorrow. I'm not saying it's going to be red all day. I just think it might close a little bit in the red. And one of the reasons why I think that is if you actually just look at the chart, you could see the SPY has had so much trouble trying to break past that 378 range or just remain there. Once we like touch it, then we drop down, we touch it, and we drop down. So unless Friday is the day we actually break out of it and start to rally to the upside, if we happen to get that crazy volume push, which is actually quite unlikely for a Friday, it's more probable we're actually going to drop down for SPY and actually close closer to max Payne at that 376 level. The SPY has struggled so much to break past that $380 range, and considering we closed very close to it, it's possible we spend a good majority of the day kind of in the red and we kind of trade in this lower range before anything happens. Now, a very bullish possibility would be if the SPY could actually break past 380, that's when the whole market would actually rally, because if it actually breaks out of 380 and holds there, that would look very good. And many analysts are saying that the SPY or the S&P 500, if it's back above 3,800 and holds that, that would be a good sign for the markets. We're not necessarily there yet, and I don't think it's going to happen on a Friday or tomorrow, which is why I do think downside is prominent for SPY and the NASDAQ and the overall market. But for Tesla, things are a little bit different. I'm going to show you why I think that. So if we look at Tesla, we are expecting a bit of a downward trend now. We're starting to make those lower highs, and the volume wasn't that great until the end of the day. We got a bit of a push right here. Now, from a technical perspective, you could argue that it looks a little bit bearish. It does look like it might continue to downward trend going into tomorrow. But what's very interesting is this right here. When you look at Tesla's max Payne, it happens to be around that $710 range. Now, does this guarantee we're going to close in the green? No, but it's an indication that a lot of these market makers, big money, these institutions might want to push us a little bit up towards the end of the day based off the options chain to cause the most pain. Now, why do they do this? It's how they make money. It's how they profit off retail and do those other things. So that is just an indication as to what Tesla may end up doing. So what else was interesting is we got this nice prop up near the very end of the day, and we actually were green temporarily. You can see Tesla tried to turn green at $710. And then within the last like 5 minutes, we went from 710 all the way down to 705. So it goes to show, this thing was capable of turning green today. It was very, very close. And that tomorrow, I don't think it's going to be much different. So what essentially am I predicting for tomorrow? Well, let's actually look at the 5-minute candles, and let me zoom in just a little bit just to make this easier to see. So tomorrow is going to be an important day, because what you'll notice is Tesla touched $687. We pushed up. Then after that, we dropped all the way down to 685. We're showing some support in this 685 range. So between 685, 687, there's some support there. I want to see us hold that range. If we can't hold that range, then 680 is going to be the key zone we need to hold. If we can't hold that, things may actually get kind of red for Tesla, and this thing might actually start to drop down to these lower, or maybe the mid $600 level, also known as that gap fill down here. But as of right now, we've been holding above it, so I wouldn't necessarily count that. I wouldn't count this out, but I wouldn't say it's going to happen that quickly, right? I expected this to take a little bit of time. Now, here's the interesting thing. I just warned you, if Tesla can't hold 680, it's probably going to drop pretty hard. If this thing starts to push up and we break past 715, we could actually be on our way to about that 720 to 730 range. That would look pretty darn good. Now, what do I think is going to happen? For my prediction, I mean, there aren't any like major catalysts that are going to cause the market to move besides sentiment and the overall market kind of moving Tesla. So tomorrow, I wouldn't be surprised if we actually open a little bit red and we actually start to downward trend because of how the SPY is. Now, unless the SPY breaks out, which is possible, Tesla will probably break out with it. But as of right now, it's not looking that way. We might see a little bit red into open, some choppy price action like this, and we're probably going to test that 685 range. Now, I would like to see us hold 685. I really want to see that, and I think it's more probable we actually hold 685 to 680. Now, we may even go as low as 680, but I would expect a bit of a bounce right over there, because it's unlikely we actually drop that low. But then again, the market's kind of choppy and could be quite unpredictable. But what I'm seeing is we might actually kind of trade in this range between 700 and that 680 range throughout a lot of the day. But towards the last like 30 minutes or the last like hour or so, we might actually suddenly get a big push up in volume, and Tesla might actually start to push up like this, and it might actually close around that 710 range. So just a little bit in the green. And I'm essentially predicting this. I do think this is quite likely based off Max Payne, and this is what I think may end up playing out. So that's essentially what I'm predicting. Now, a more bullish possibility would be us kind of rallying and actually breaking past 715 and pushing even higher to that 720 range. But right now, the chart doesn't show us rallying that high that quickly. Now, for a more bearish perspective, let's just say that the whole market takes a big hit. That's also possible. If that were the case, okay, if the market does take a big hit, we have to see how this thing reacts to that 680 range. That's a very important zone. If Tesla doesn't hold that, we're probably going to get rug pulled and drop down to that 660 range, maybe a little higher than that, but somewhere along the lines. And we would look pretty primed for that gap fill down to that $650 level if we can't hold 680. So that's a very important zone. You got to look out for it very carefully. So once we fill the gap, if we do end up filling the gap in one day, which would be pretty insane, down to 650, we should get a bounce around there and hopefully close around 680 to 670, somewhere around there. But that's a more bearish perspective. Do I think that's going to happen? No, I think that's less likely, but it is still a possibility. So once again, I think there's maybe like a 60% chance, maybe 65% chance we see the blue line occurring. I think we're most likely going to see a bit of a push towards the end, especially looking at Max Payne. And I think there's maybe a 35 to 40% chance we actually drop this low. So I'm aiming more towards the bullish side. Once again, I think that we're going to see choppy price action, some red throughout the day, but a nice push towards the end into green for Tesla. So with that said and done, I want to actually talk about the news now, because Tesla just announced this right over here. Tesla has launched a new virtual power plant that pays Powerwall owners to help end brownouts. And that's very, very cool, especially for a state like California, if this is implemented. And the way this works is essentially they have this new virtual power plant. It's a partnership with PG&E in California, and it pays Powerwall owners to help stabilize the electric grid and end brownouts in California. So people, everyday people, can get paid for this if they're willing to distribute this energy a little bit more. Now, this distributes energy storage systems like Tesla Powerwalls. It's used to provide a power grid service and other things like that to avoid using polluting and expensive peaker power plants. And this is actually pretty cool. It's a very, very good way to actually improve the environment in a way and use energy more efficiently, while people will simultaneously get paid for this in essence. So people could get paid, typically it's like $50 to $60 a month. Some people could get paid over 120, depending on your grids and other things like that. And this is good because it stabilizes the grids, especially as we're seeing a bigger demand in California for these EVs. It really cleans up their grids. It helps unite the community, maintain their energy security, and earn compensation for other people out there who are receiving about $2 for every additional kilowatt per hour that they are providing. So pretty cool in my opinion. I think this is going to be huge in the future, right? Tesla is the future, and it is something to really remember going forward. The last thing I want to talk about is this right over here. If we look at what Elon Musk just liked on his Twitter page, this Twitter page known as Wham Bam Tesla Cam, pretty funny name, they stated that there has been a lot on the news lately of how dangerous the Tesla door handles are and this and that, but no one ever talks about how great it is to have hidden door handles when a road rager approaches your car. So in my opinion, there are two ways of looking at the Tesla handles. Some people have their concerns, but at the same time, it is a very good safety measure as well. Could the cars automatically lock, and could other cars also do that? Yes, but them going inside like that just provides extra safety, and to me, it's a very, very cool feature, something that Tesla does not get as much credit for. So it is something I just wanted to mention. So to end the video, there is one more thing I want to actually show you guys that's very interesting from a technical perspective, but I think it's going to be more interesting for Friday or maybe next week. But let me just quickly show you this. Right here, if you look at Bollingers, okay, if you look at the Bollinger Bands, they are tightening like crazy for Tesla. And let me show you the example. If you look at Tesla's chart over the last, hold on, let me go back to like recently. When we have big breakouts to the upside or downside, typically you see the Bollinger Bands close out very, very tightly like this. And if you actually go back, we saw something very similar right over here. We saw this starting to close up right here. If you zoom in, it started to close up and we kind of break out, a small breakout to the upside, then back down. So lots of volatility tends to come during these breakout phases, and they're typically starting off with these like big closes. So right here, we're seeing the Bollinger Bands, which are 2 standard deviations away from the basis bands, they're getting closer, like right over here. So this could be an indication Tesla might have a breakout in either direction. So be prepared for that. It might be a breakout down in the next like couple of days, the next couple of trading days going into next week to the downside, or we might actually push up a little hard before something else happens. So just something to really look out for. Be prepared for anything. Thank you for listening. Please have a fantastic rest of the day. I wish the best for all of you. I gave you guys my prediction, and I will see you guys in the next one. Tesla to the moon, and peace out.